Welcome, curious minds, to a journey that rips through the veneer of domestic tranquility to expose a world far more treacherous than most could ever imagine. Tonight we unravel a story, not just of betrayal within four walls, but of a battle for survival against shadows stretching across continents. It begins with a thunderclap, a single brutal slap that shatters a family gathering and ignites a woman's dormant strength, launching her into a maelstrom of deceit, danger, and unimaginable sacrifice. This isn't just about a broken marriage, it's about the hidden wars fought in plain sight, the unsung heroes who confront the darkest corners of human depravity, and the profound questions we must ask ourselves about justice, family, and the true cost of standing up to evil. Imagine a scene, a vibrant family gathering, laughter echoing, the clinking of glasses, a tapestry of joy woven in a luxurious Victoria Island home. Then suddenly, silence. A sharp, stinging sound reverberates through the room, cutting through the festive atmosphere like a knife. It's the sound of a hand connecting with a cheek, brutal and undeniable. 20 pairs of eyes, moments ago filled with warmth, now widen in collective shock, fixated on a woman stumbling backward, her hand flying instinctively to her burning face, tears welling in her eyes. This woman is Kioma, and in that instant, her world, and indeed the world around her, fundamentally shifts. This isn't just a domestic dispute, it's a profound violation. It's the public shaming, the assertion of dominance, the raw, ugly face of control rearing its head in the most intimate of spaces. Emma, her husband, bellows, his voice laced with the arrogance of alcohol and misplaced authority. "I am the head of this house. You will respect me in front of my family." He towers over Kioma, a man inflated by drink and a twisted sense of patriarchal right, oblivious to the horrified gazes of his own mother, sisters, and extended family. His words, intended to assert power, instead expose a deep, festering wound, a toxic dynamic that has likely been brewing for years, now violently erupting into the open. But what happens when the one being suppressed has reached her breaking point? What happens when a seemingly meek exterior conceals a formidable intellect, a lawyer's sharp mind, and a mother's fierce protective instinct? The answer, as we are about to discover, is nothing short of explosive. Kioma, initially stunned, quickly wipes away her tears. Her voice, though trembling, steadies with a resolve, born of a long, simmering injustice. "You want to show them who's the head of this house, Emma? Fine." This isn't just defiance, it's a strategic declaration of war. In that moment, Kioma embodies the quiet strength of countless individuals who've suffered in silence, who've endured emotional manipulation, psychological abuse, and persistent disrespect. Her actions are a testament to the fact that true power is not found in physical force or verbal aggression, but in clarity of purpose, in the courage to expose truth, and in the unwavering determination to protect one's dignity and family. She walks to the mahogany table, not to cower, but to arm herself with the most potent weapon of the modern age: information. Her iPhone, trembling in her hand, becomes an instrument of justice, meticulously curated with screenshots, photos, bank transfers, a digital dossier of a husband's betrayal. "Maybe your family should know who you really are," she says, her voice gaining strength with each scroll. "Maybe they should know about Fund Me from your office or Blessing from the bank. Or better yet," she pauses, her thumb hovering over a damning video, a master of suspense in her own unfolding drama. "Maybe they should know about the apartment you've been renting in Lekki for your side pieces." The color drains from Emma's face. His bravado crumbles, replaced by a dawning terror. He understands, perhaps for the first time, the magnitude of the corner he has painted himself into. But Kioma isn't finished. Her voice, now ice cold, delivers the final crushing blow. Or maybe they should know about the N50 million you've been stealing from our joint business account to fund your affairs. N50 million naira. An astronomical sum, enough to shake even the most stoic family to its core. This revelation transforms the domestic dispute into a full-blown financial scandal, implicating not just Emma's character, but his solvency, his business ethics, and the very foundation of their family's financial security. Emma's mother gasps, clutching her chest. His sisters exchange horrified glances. The power play Emma thought he was making with a slap has spectacularly backfired, turning his carefully constructed facade of success and respectability into a heap of ashes. Chioma holds up her phone, the screen glowing with evidence of months, perhaps even years, of calculated betrayal. Still think you're the head of this house? The question hangs in the air, a silent judgment reverberating through the stunned silence. But this, she knew, was only the beginning. The next 10 minutes, the next hour, the next day, would forever change their lives. This moment serves as a powerful reminder that beneath the surface of seemingly perfect lives, profound battles are often being fought. It's a testament to the fact that the quiet, often underestimated individual can possess an unparalleled capacity for strategic thinking and unwavering resolve when pushed to their absolute limit. This initial act of defiance isn't just personal. It's a microcosm of a larger fight for truth and justice against those who wield power through deceit and fear. The silence that descends upon the Victoria Island mansion after Chioma's revelations is not merely the absence of sound, it is a heavy, suffocating blanket woven from shock, disbelief, and simmering anger. Emma's mother, Mama Ngozi, slowly sinks back into her chair, her eyes fixed on her son with a potent blend of disappointment and rage. Her whispered words, N50 million naira. Our family money resonate with a pain that goes beyond monetary loss. It speaks to a profound violation of trust, a betrayal of the collective family welfare. This is a common thread in many societies where financial infidelity within a marriage can ripple outwards, impacting extended families, future generations, and even communal well-being. It highlights how personal failings can morph into wider societal concerns, especially when they involve significant sums of money that could have been invested in education, healthcare, or communal upliftment. For 12 years, Chioma had endured. 12 years of emotional manipulation, late nights disguised as business trips, and thinly veiled lies that were, in fact, romantic escapades with other women. The co-parenting conflicts they'd had over their twin daughters, Kemi and Tammy, now made agonizing sense. Emma hadn't been an absent father due to work pressure. He'd been too preoccupied playing house with his mistresses, too deeply entangled in his web of deceit to be present for his real family. This is a cruel reality for many partners who carry the burden of a fractured family, only to later discover that their partner's distance was not due to legitimate stress, but deliberate betrayal. The emotional toll of such prolonged deception is immense, often leading to self-doubt, anxiety, and a profound sense of isolation. Aduni, Emma's eldest sister, breaks the trance, her voice sharp with a demand for verification. "Show us the proof, Chioma. If you're going to destroy our brother's name, show us everything." This reaction, while seemingly harsh, is understandable. In many cultural contexts, family reputation is paramount. To accuse a son or brother of such egregious acts, especially publicly, is to invite communal disgrace. Adoni's demand for proof isn't just about skepticism. It's about the instinct to protect the family unit, even when it's crumbling from within. It's a delicate balance between loyalty to kin and loyalty to truth, a dilemma many face when confronted with uncomfortable realities about loved ones. Chioma, with deliberate calm, connects her phone to the smart TV. Her movements are unhurried, almost ritualistic, underscoring the gravity of what she's about to unveil. The first image appears, a WhatsApp conversation between Emma and my sugar. The message, "I can't wait to see you in Dubai, baby. The penthouse suite is booked for a week," is damning enough. The timestamp, 2 months prior, brutally exposes Emma's lie about attending a conference in Abuja. The gasps from the room are palpable, each one a shard of glass shattering Emma's carefully constructed illusion. More messages follow. Photos of expensive gifts, receipts from exclusive Lagos restaurants, hotel bookings. This isn't just infidelity, it's ostentatious, careless, and deeply insulting. It's a public disgrace that spirals beyond mere marital betrayal, revealing a profound disrespect for Kioma, their children, and the entire family's shared resources. Then comes the financial evidence, even more chilling in its implications. This one is from Blessing at First Bank. Kioma states, scrolling to screenshots of bank transfers, N15 million transferred to her account with the memo, "For my beautiful queen." This was our daughter's university fund. The weight of this revelation is staggering. It transforms Emma from a mere philanderer into a thief who has stolen from his own children's future. It's a betrayal of the most fundamental parental duty, a callous disregard for their children's dreams. Emma lunges for the remote, a desperate attempt to stop the bleeding, but his younger brother Chick blocks his path. "Let her finish, Emma. We need to hear this." This act of intervention by Chick signifies a shift in the family's dynamic. The collective shock is giving way to a desire for accountability, a recognition that Emma's actions have gone too far. The room watches in stunned silence as more evidence flickers across the screen. Videos of Emma in compromising positions, audio recordings of him bad-mouthing Kioma to his mistresses, calling her boring and too traditional, while praising his side pieces as modern and understanding. The psychological abuse, the denigration of his wife to other women, adds another layer of cruelty to his betrayal. It's a common tactic used by manipulators to diminish their primary partner to justify their own transgressions, thus shifting blame and absolving themselves of guilt. But the most damaging evidence, the one that truly unravels Emma's world, is yet to come. Kioma's finger hovers over a folder labeled "Business Fraud." Her voice is deadly calm. "You thought I didn't know about the fake contracts, the ones you've been using to siphon money from our construction company, the tax evasion, the bribery?" Emma's face turns ashen. Cheating, in many societies, is a personal failing with social consequences. Financial crimes, however, are a different beast entirely. They carry severe legal ramifications, potentially leading to jail time, asset forfeiture, and irreparable damage to one's reputation. In Nigeria, bodies like the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, are known for their uncompromising approach to such offenses. This is where the personal becomes overtly criminal, where domestic betrayal spills over into a breach of public trust and legal statutes. "Kioma, we can work this out," Emma pleads, his earlier bravado completely gone, replaced by desperation. Kioma's laugh is bitter, hollow. "Like how we worked out your affair with Fund Me when I caught you the first time, or how we worked out the second apartment when I found the lease agreement, or how about when you gave me an STI and told me I was imagining things?" The room erupts in shocked murmurs. Mama Ngozi starts crying, her hands covering her face. This is the ultimate violation, a physical betrayal that endangers Kioma's health and life. It's a horrifying testament to the depth of Emma's depravity, revealing a callous disregard for his wife's well-being that transcends emotional or financial betrayal. The domestic drama has morphed into a public health crisis, a deeply personal wound that further underscores the multifaceted nature of abuse. Chioma clicks on one final folder, and Emma's knees nearly give out. On the screen appear legal documents, divorce papers, custody agreements, and a lawsuit filing for embezzlement and fraud. "I've already filed everything with my lawyer," she announces. "The EFCC will be here tomorrow morning." This isn't just an act of revenge, it's a calculated, meticulously planned legal offensive. Chioma, the lawyer, has been building her case, not just emotionally, but legally, meticulously gathering irrefutable evidence. This reveal highlights a crucial aspect of reclaiming power in abusive situations, preparing strategically, understanding legal frameworks, and executing a plan with precision. It's a message of empowerment for anyone feeling trapped, showing that knowledge and careful planning can be potent weapons. But just as the family processes this devastating information, Kioma's phone buzzes with a message that makes her blood run cold. The sender is unknown, the message chillingly clear: "Stop now or your daughters pay the price." This is the moment the narrative pivots sharply, transforming from a domestic drama into a high-stakes thriller. The personal becomes deeply dangerous, the fight for justice now interwoven with a terrifying threat to innocent lives. The meticulously planned revenge story has inadvertently opened a Pandora's box, revealing a darkness far greater than any marital betrayal. From the floor-to-ceiling windows of their luxurious Victoria Island home, Chioma watches Emma pace the balcony, his phone pressed to his ear. The Lagos skyline glitters behind him, a dazzling display of urban life. But all Chioma can see is a warehouse sign she'd glimpsed in a video: Oho Motors, a car dealership in an industrial area. Her mind, sharp and analytical, connects the dots with chilling speed. This is the burden of intelligence, seeing patterns, sensing danger where others perceive only normalcy. The co-parenting conflicts that once seemed like mountains now shrink to mere pebbles, dwarfed by the looming threat to Kem and Tammy. "Who is he calling?" Mama Ngozi asks, her voice trembling, mirroring Chioma's gaze. "I don't know, but we can't wait to find out," Chioma replies, her maternal instincts overriding everything else. The immediate threat to her children has dissolved her anger towards Emma, replacing it with a primal need for their safety. This is a powerful, universal theme: the protective fire of a mother's love, capable of transcending even the deepest betrayals when her children are in danger. She slips onto the adjoining balcony, driven by a desperate need for answers. "Ogle, please, I beg you." Emma's voice breaks, raw with desperation. "They are just children. Take me instead. Take anything you want, but let my daughters go." Chioma's blood runs cold. Ogre Ralph. She'd heard that name before, whispered in hushed conversations when Emma thought she wasn't listening. He was connected to the questionable contracts that had mysteriously swelled their construction company's profits. Emma continues, "I know I owe you money, but this is not the way. My wife doesn't know anything about our arrangement." The line goes dead, leaving Emma staring at his phone, a picture of shattered vulnerability. This conversation reveals a stark truth. Emma is not just a cheating husband and a fraudulent businessman, he is deeply entangled with dangerous criminals. His earlier bravado, his attempts to assert dominance, now appear pathetic against the backdrop of this terrifying reality. He is a pawn, caught in a web far more intricate and perilous than his family could have imagined. This is where personal failings intersect with the criminal underworld, demonstrating how seemingly small transgressions can be exploited by larger, more sinister forces. "You know who has them," Chioma states, stepping onto the balcony, her voice devoid of accusation, filled only with a shared terror. The emotional manipulation and domestic betrayal that had defined their marriage fade into insignificance. For the first time in months, they look at each other not with hatred, but with a horrifying understanding of their shared predicament. This moment of acute crisis often strips away the superficial layers of conflict, revealing a raw, shared humanity beneath. Emma admits, his voice barely a whisper. "Ogre Ralph runs an underground network, import-export business, but also other things. I got involved with some contracts that weren't exactly legal." He reveals that her evidence, if made public, won't just hurt him. It will expose powerful, dangerous individuals who operate in the shadows. "How much do you owe him?" Keoma asks, dreading the answer. 8 million, Naira. The number hits her like a physical blow, explaining the drained business accounts. Emma's infidelity was just a symptom, a distraction from a much larger, more dangerous problem. "And if I don't delete the evidence," he continues, "he won't just kill the girls. He'll come after you, after our families, after everyone. These people don't make empty threats." This underscores the chilling reality of organized crime. It's not just about money, it's about power, fear, and absolute control. The stakes have escalated beyond personal revenge. They now encompass the survival of their entire lineage. Inside the house, Keoma's phone rings. Mama Adis, Keoma's mother, answers, her expression terrified. "It's the girls," she whispers. Keoma snatches the phone. "Kemi? Tammy? Are you okay?" Tammy's small voice, scared but trying to be brave, cuts through the terror. "Mommy, there are some men here, and they say, we can't come home unless you do something. They showed us pictures of you and Daddy, and they know where we live and where Grandma lives." The line goes dead. The meticulous public disgrace Keoma had planned for Emma has now been leveraged by the criminals against her own children. This is the cruel irony of revenge. Sometimes, the very weapon you wield can be turned against you. But Keoma, despite the paralyzing fear, sees a flicker of possibility. She looks at Emma, the cheating spouse who put their family in mortal danger, and realizes she has one card left to play. "I have a plan," she says, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "But you're not going to like it." This is the core of true courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in spite of it. Her revenge story, initially about personal vindication, is about to take a turn that will change all their lives forever, transforming it into a desperate fight for collective survival. It highlights the profound shift in priorities that extreme danger can force upon individuals, often revealing depths of strength and strategic brilliance that lay dormant in quieter times. "We're going to give them what they want," Keoma declares, her voice eerily calm, unsettling everyone in the room, but not how they expect. Emma stares at his wife, confusion battling desperation on his face. The man who had dominated her for years, the cheating spouse whose arrogance had sparked this inferno, is now completely at her mercy, his fate, and that of their children, resting entirely in her hands. This reversal of power is profound, a testament to Keoma's intellectual prowess and emotional resilience. It's a poignant moment that illustrates how moments of extreme crisis can redefine relationships, stripping away pretense and forcing an acknowledgement of true capabilities. "You're going to delete everything?" Emma asks, a desperate hope in his voice. "No," Keoma replies, pulling out her laptop. "I'm going to upload everything to the internet right now, all of it." The room erupts in shocked voices. Mama Ngozi clutches her chest. "Keoma, they'll kill the girls." This is the ultimate gamble, a move that seems utterly reckless to those who don't understand the psychology of the criminal underworld. Keoma, however, sees the Achilles heel of organizations like Ogre Ralph's. "Not if the information is already public," she retorts, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Ogre Ralph's power comes from operating in the shadows. If his network is exposed to the entire country, the EFCC, the media, social media, everyone will know his name and his crimes. He becomes powerless. This is a brilliant and audacious strategy, a modern-day David and Goliath tale played out in the digital realm. It taps into the vulnerability of powerful individuals who thrive on secrecy and illicit operations. Once their anonymity is shattered, once their crimes are laid bare for public consumption, their capacity to operate effectively is severely hampered. This is a powerful commentary on the double-edged sword of information in the digital age. It can be used for manipulation, but it can also be a potent weapon for justice. The domestic betrayal that started this nightmare becomes secondary to exposing an entire criminal enterprise, a testament to Keoma's evolving understanding of the true enemy. Emma grabs her wrist, his voice laced with terror. "You don't understand how these people work. They'll make an example of our family. They'll what?" Keoma shakes him off, her voice defiant. "Kill us all in broad daylight after I've posted evidence of their crimes online? Their best option becomes letting us live and disappearing." Her logic, though cold, is sound. A publicly exposed criminal network gains nothing from murdering a family whose plight has already captured national attention. It would only solidify public outrage and intensify law enforcement efforts. Their best escape route is to cut their losses and vanish into the shadows they so desperately crave. She is already uploading files to multiple platforms: social media, news websites, anti-corruption forums. The evidence of Emma's infidelity is now interwoven with bank documents revealing a vast network of money laundering and fraud, implicating some of Lagos's most prominent businessmen. "Besides," she adds grimly, "I've already sent copies to my friend Kemi Lawson at Channels TV and my cousin who works at The Punch. If anything happens to us, they have instructions to publish everything." This is Keoma, the lawyer, the strategist, the survivor, anticipating every move, meticulously building a fortress of information around her family. The African marriage drama has evolved into a high-stakes game of chess with criminals. But Keoma has been planning this longer than anyone realized. "You think I didn't know about your dangerous friends?" she continues, typing furiously. "You think I've been sitting quietly for 12 years without learning anything about your business? I'm a lawyer, Emma. I've been building a case for months." This revelation adds another layer to Keoma's character. She wasn't just a victim enduring, she was an intelligence gatherer, observing, learning, and preparing. It's a powerful narrative of quiet strength and covert preparation, reminding us that those who appear passive can often be the most strategic. Her phone rings. Unknown number. "Mrs. Okachukwu." The distorted voice sounds less confident than before. "We see what you're doing. Stop immediately." "No," Keoma says simply. "Bring me my daughters, or watch your entire organization get destroyed on live television. I've got reporters on standby." The emotional manipulation that had defined her marriage is nothing compared to the psychological warfare she's waging now. She puts the phone on speaker. "You're making a mistake," the voice warns. "The mistake was thinking I was just another submissive Nigerian wife," Keoma retorts, her voice echoing with newfound authority. "I've spent years documenting every illegal transaction, every fake contract, every bribe. Your boss's real name is Ralph Adebayo. He lives in a billion-naira mansion in Banana Island, and he has children at British International School. Should I continue?" The silence on the other end is deafening, a victory cry for Keoma. She has not only exposed his crimes, but also his personal vulnerabilities, hitting him where it hurts most, his anonymity and his family's safety. 30 minutes, the voice finally says. "OO Motors, come alone." 1 hour, Keoma counters, "and I'm bringing company." She hangs up and turns to the shocked family members. "Mama Ngozi, call your friend at Nigeria Police Force Headquarters. Aduni, your husband works at EFCC. Get him on the phone now. Mama, contact that journalist friend of yours." The family, once passive observers, now mobilizes under Keoma's decisive leadership. This communal response to crisis is a powerful portrayal of collective strength, showing that even in moments of profound terror, unity can spark action. But as they scramble, Keoma's laptop flickers. Someone is trying to hack her system remotely to delete the evidence before it can spread further. The co-parenting conflict she'd had with Emma is about to become the least of their problems. Her revenge story is now a race against time, with her daughters' lives and potentially the lives of many others hanging in the balance. Just then, they hear cars pulling up outside their gate. the sound of multiple engines and slamming doors. Chioma's heart hammers as she peers through the blinds. 3 black Toyota Prados have surrounded their gate, and men in dark clothing are getting out. "They came faster than expected," Emma whispers, his face pale. But Chioma notices something the others miss. These aren't thugs. The men wear professional suits and move with disciplined coordination. "Those are federal agents," she says with growing confidence. "EFCC. Her phone buzzes again. This time, the voice isn't distorted. "Mrs. Okechukwu, this is Agent Ibrahim Musa, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. We've been monitoring the uploads you've been making tonight. We need you to stop immediately." The domestic betrayal that started everything has triggered a federal investigation, but Chioma isn't backing down. "Not until I have my daughters back," she says firmly. Agent Musa reveals the shocking truth. "Ma, we have been tracking Ralph Adabeo's organization for 2 years. Your evidence is exactly what we needed, but if you make it public now, you'll compromise an ongoing operation. We have teams moving to secure your daughters as we speak." The African marriage drama has intersected with something far larger, a sprawling federal operation against organized crime. Through the window, Chioma sees Agent Musa approaching the front door, his badge visible. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" she demands. "Because we've been watching your husband's activities for months," he replies. "We know about the fake contracts, the money laundering, the offshore accounts. We also know that Ralph Adabeo has been using your construction company to funnel money from government contracts." Emma's face crumbles as he realizes the full scope of his entanglement. The cheating spouse, who thought he was merely having affairs and skimming money, has unknowingly been a key player in a massive corruption scheme. His personal failings were exploited, his greed a lever for far greater criminal enterprises. Agent Musa enters, flanked by 2 other agents. He is a tall, imposing man with kind eyes that somehow make everyone feel safer. "Mr. Okechukwu," he addresses Emma directly, "we're prepared to offer you full immunity in exchange for your complete cooperation in our investigation of the Adabeo network. The infidelity in marriage, the financial fraud, these now seem like minor legal problems compared to the larger implications of international organized crime." Chioma looks at her husband, this man who had betrayed her, stolen their money, and put their children in danger. "What about my daughters?" she demands. "We have units surrounding the Oho Motors facility," Agent Musa reassures her. "But Mrs. Okechukwu, we need you to make a choice. Continue with your public exposure plan and risk Adebayo's organization scattering to the wind, or trust us to handle this professionally and get your girls back safely." This is a profound ethical dilemma. Personal vengeance versus strategic law enforcement. The emotional manipulation she'd endured for years had taught Chioma to be suspicious of men making promises. But the agent's next words change everything. "We also know about your husband's affairs. We have surveillance footage of his meetings with his associates. Some of those meetings weren't just about business." He hands her a tablet showing security camera footage. On the screen, Emma is at an upscale restaurant, not alone. Sitting across from him is Funmi, the woman he'd been having an affair with, and at the table next to them, Ralph Adabeo himself. "Your husband's girlfriend, Funme, works for Adabeo. She's been feeding him information about your family, your finances, your movements. The affair wasn't just infidelity, Mrs. Okechukwu. It was espionage. The co-parenting conflict, the late nights, the suspicious behavior. It all made agonizing sense now. Emma hadn't just been cheating. He'd been unknowingly providing intelligence to the very criminals who now held their daughters." "You mean?" Chioma's voice trails off as the full, horrifying betrayal hits her. "Your husband was being played," Agent Musa confirms. "The women, the easy money, the lifestyle. It was all designed to compromise him and gain access to your construction business and its government contracts." The revenge story Chioma thought she was writing has revealed something far more sinister. a meticulously crafted trap that used personal weaknesses to achieve larger criminal objectives. But before anyone can respond, Agent Musa's radio crackles. Base to team leader. We have eyes on the targets. 2 subjects confirmed safe, but there's a problem. What kind of problem? Agent Musa responds, his voice tense. Sir, they're not alone. We count at least 8 adults in the facility, and they appear to be holding more than just the Okachuku girls. The public disgrace Chioma had planned has uncovered something far worse than marital betrayal. They've stumbled onto a human trafficking operation. This shocking twist elevates the narrative from a domestic thriller to a global exposé of a horrific crime against humanity, underscoring the interconnectedness of seemingly disparate criminal activities. The revelation hits the room like a physical blow, reverberating with the terrifying reality of widespread evil. Agent Musa's radio continues to crackle with updates, each transmission more disturbing than the last. We count approximately 12 children in the facility, ages appearing to range from 8 to 16. This is bigger than we thought, sir. Chioma's legs give out, and she sinks into the nearest chair. The domestic betrayal that started with Emma slapping her has now unveiled a human trafficking ring. Their daughters aren't just kidnapped. They are being held with other children who might have been missing for weeks, even months. This profound horror dwarfs all previous concerns, pushing personal vengeance far into the background. How long has this been going on? Chioma whispers, looking at Emma with a mixture of horror and disgust that transcends anger. I swear to God, Chioma, I had no idea. Emma's voice cracks, raw with newfound understanding and fear. I thought it was just money laundering, fake contracts. I never knew about children. His plea of ignorance, while potentially genuine about the trafficking, still highlights his culpability in opening the door to such darkness. This is a crucial distinction. Sometimes individuals become unwitting accomplices to heinous crimes through their involvement in seemingly lesser offenses, demonstrating the insidious nature of organized crime that often starts with small betrayals. Agent Musa, his professional demeanor barely containing the urgency, coordinates with multiple units. Team Alpha, maintain visual surveillance. Team Bravo, secure perimeter. Nobody moves until we have a full tactical plan. The African marriage drama has transformed into a federal rescue operation, a race against time to save not just Kem and Tammy, but dozens of other innocent lives. But Chioma's legal mind, always sharp, races with darker implications. The affairs, she says suddenly, turning to Agent Musa, fund me and the others. They weren't just gathering financial information, were they? The agent's grim expression confirms her fears. We believe they were identifying potential targets, families with resources, children who wouldn't be immediately missed due to domestic issues. The infidelity in marriage had been a recruitment strategy, a tool for identifying vulnerabilities. This is a chilling insight into the modus operandi of human trafficking networks. They often exploit existing social fragilities, domestic conflicts, and economic disparities to identify and prey on victims. Every fight Chioma and Emma had, every time he'd stormed out to be with his mistresses, every disruption to their family routine, every detail of their lives had been reported back to the trafficking network. They knew about our daughters' schedules because Emma told Fund Me everything, Chioma says, the pieces falling into place with horrifying clarity. Dance classes, school pickups when I work late. The emotional manipulation went deeper than anyone had imagined. Emma hadn't just been a cheating spouse, he'd been an unwitting accomplice in targeting his own children. Mama Ngozi begins crying softly, rocking back and forth. Those poor babies, all those poor children. Her grief is universal, a lament for all lost innocence. Agent Musa's radio buzzes again. Sir, we have movement inside the facility. It looks like they're preparing to transport the subjects. How long until tactical units arrive? Agent Musa asks. 15 minutes, sir. They'll be gone by then, Keoma says, standing up abruptly. Her voice is infused with a desperate determination. I know these people now. The moment they feel threatened, they'll scatter. She looks at Agent Musa. What if we give them what they think they want? They took our daughters to force me to delete the evidence. What if I show up there, pretend to cooperate, and give your teams the opportunity they need to get close? The co-parenting conflict she'd been having with Emma now seems insignificant compared to the dozens of children who need help. Her focus has shifted entirely from personal grievance to collective salvation, but Agent Musa shakes his head. Too dangerous, Ma. These people have already shown they're willing to harm children. And they'll harm a lot more if they escape tonight, Keoma counters fiercely. How many other families are going through what we're going through? How many other children have disappeared because parents were too afraid to fight back? Her words carry the weight of moral imperative, forcing the pragmatic agent to consider the broader, human cost of inaction. This is the moment where an individual's personal tragedy transforms into a fight for a larger cause, a testament to the power of one person's conviction to catalyze collective action. Her phone rings. Ralph Adabeo himself this time, no longer hiding behind distorted voices. Mrs. Okachukwu, you have made this very complicated for everyone. Where are my daughters? Keoma demands. Safe for now, but this cannot continue. You will come to Oho Motors alone. You will bring all your devices, all your evidence, and you will watch me delete everything before you see your children again. The public disgrace Keoma had planned is exactly what Adabeo fears most, but she must now make a choice no mother should ever have to make. Sacrifice justice for the immediate safety of her children, or gamble everything for a chance at a larger victory. I'll be there in 20 minutes, she says. But as she hangs up, Agent Musa is already coordinating with his teams. The revenge story is about to become a rescue mission, determining the fate of more than just the Okachukwu family. Mrs. Okachukwu, if you're determined to do this, you won't be going alone. The question is, are they walking into a trap or finally ending a nightmare that has destroyed countless families? 20 minutes later, Keoma sits in the passenger seat of an unmarked EFCC vehicle, heading toward the industrial district of Aja. Agent Musa drives, a man of quiet competence, while Keoma wears a nearly invisible wire and tracking device. Her phone shows that her earlier uploads are still spreading across social media, a digital wildfire, but she'd paused the process, as promised, to buy them precious time. Remember, Mrs. Okachukwu, Agent Musa reminds her as they approach Ojo Motors, his voice calm but firm. Your job is to get them talking and keep them distracted. Don't try to be a hero. The domestic betrayal that started this nightmare feels like a lifetime ago. Now, all that matters is bringing home Kem, Tammy, and the other children being held captive in that desolate warehouse. This shift in focus, from personal grievances to a broader humanitarian concern, highlights Keoma's profound transformation from a wronged wife to a resilient strategic operative. Through her earpiece, she can hear the tactical teams positioning themselves, a symphony of whispered commands and hushed movements encircling the building. The African marriage drama has become something much more significant, a chance to save lives and expose a criminal network that has been operating with impunity under Lagos's very nose for years. This is a stark reminder of the hidden struggles that often occur beneath the surface of urban life, where seemingly legitimate businesses can serve as fronts for the darkest of crimes. The courage of individuals like Keoma, combined with the diligence of law enforcement, becomes the only barrier against such pervasive evil. I can see the building, she whispers as they pull into the empty car lot. Oho Motors looks abandoned from the outside, a facade of disuse masking its horrific interior, but she can see light coming from the rear warehouse section. Her phone buzzes with a text. Come to the back entrance alone. Any sign of police and the children disappear forever. They're watching, Agent Musa observes, noting movement in the upper windows of nearby buildings. This is a well-organized operation. This level of sophistication underscores the challenge faced by law enforcement. These aren't petty criminals, but a highly organized, well-resourced network with eyes and ears everywhere. Chioma steps out of the car, her heart pounding with a rhythm that echoes the urgency of the moment. But her resolve is steady. The infidelity in marriage that had brought her to this perilous point seems utterly insignificant compared to the profound human suffering she is about to confront. As she approaches the warehouse, she can hear children's voices inside, scared whispers and quiet crying that make her maternal instincts surge with an almost unbearable intensity. Whatever happened to her marriage, whatever revenge she'd planned against her cheating spouse, none of it matters if she can't protect these innocent lives. This is the moment of ultimate sacrifice, where personal pain is subsumed by a larger, more altruistic purpose. The metal door opens before she can knock, revealing a tall, well-dressed man in his 50s, Ralph Adebayo in person. He looks nothing like the criminal mastermind she'd imagined. In his expensive Agbada and gold jewelry, he resembles any successful Lagos businessman. This mundane appearance of evil is often its most terrifying aspect, highlighting how deeply insidious criminal enterprises can embed themselves within respectable society. Mrs. Okachukwu, you have caused me considerable trouble tonight, he says, his voice deceptively calm. Where are the children? She demands, fighting to keep her voice steady, an internal battle between fear and defiance. Safe, as promised. But first, we need to resolve your publicity problem. He leads her into the warehouse, and what she sees makes her stomach churn. 24 children, ranging from young toddlers to teenagers, sit on mattresses on the floor. Some look like they'd been there for weeks, their faces etched with fear and resignation. At the far end, she spots Kem and Tammy, huddled together, their school uniforms dirty, but their eyes lighting up with a flicker of hope when they see her. "Mommy!" Tammy starts to stand, but one of Adebayo's men gestures for her to stay seated, a calculated act of cruelty designed to maximize Kioma's distress and assert their control. The emotional manipulation Kioma had endured in her marriage was nothing compared to this cold, calculated subjugation of innocent lives. But she has to stay focused on the mission. Her personal pain must be channeled into strategic action. "Show me your evidence," Adebayo says, gesturing to her phone and laptop bag. "All of it." As she begins pulling out her devices, Kioma speaks loudly enough for the wire to pick up every word, effectively broadcasting her intelligence to Agent Musa and his team. "I have bank records showing money laundering through construction contracts, fake government bids worth over N$500 million, and documentation of your trafficking operation." Adebayo's eyes narrow, but he is too confident, too arrogant to realize she is building a case against him in real time, turning his own trap into a forum for exposure. "These children," she continues, her voice laced with a controlled fury. "How long have they been missing? How many families are searching for them?" "That's not your concern," he replies dismissively. But one of his associates whispers something urgent in his ear. Through her earpiece, Agent Musa's voice is barely audible. 2 minutes out! But then Adebayo smiles, a cold, predatory expression that makes Chioma's blood freeze. "Mrs. Okachukwu, did you really think we didn't know about your federal friends outside? Did you think we hadn't planned for this possibility?" He pulls out his own phone and shows her a live video feed from another location. The screen shows Agent Musa's vehicle, surrounded by armed men, his tactical team pinned down. "Your rescue attempt has just become a negotiation for more lives." The co-parenting conflict that started this nightmare is about to cost more than just a marriage. It might cost everyone their lives. This is the ultimate test of courage and resolve, a moment where the hunters become the hunted, and the meticulously planned operation teeters on the brink of disaster. The unforeseen depth of the criminal network's intelligence and preparation throws a wrench into the entire rescue effort, pushing Kioma and the federal agents into an even more precarious situation. The video feed on Adabeo's phone is a stark image of betrayal and imminent danger. Agent Musa and his tactical team are pinned down behind their vehicles, surrounded by more armed men than Kioma had imagined possible. The criminal network is far larger, far better organized, and significantly more prepared than anyone had anticipated. This is the brutal reality of confronting sophisticated organized crime. It's rarely a straightforward operation. How many people are you willing to sacrifice for your revenge? Adabeo asks calmly, his tone chillingly detached, as if discussing trivial matters. The domestic betrayal that started this nightmare is now a secondary concern, a faded memory in the face of this overwhelming, immediate threat. Chioma looks around the warehouse, her eyes sweeping over the frightened faces of dozens of children, including her own daughters. The weight of her quest for justice suddenly feels crushing, realizing that it has put even more innocent lives at risk. This is the profound moral quandary of fighting evil. How much collateral damage is acceptable in the pursuit of a greater good? "What do you want?" she asks, her voice barely steady, a desperate attempt to buy time, to understand the parameters of this terrifying negotiation. "Simple," Adabeo replies. "You will call off your federal friends, delete every piece of evidence, and disappear. Your husband will continue our business arrangement, and everyone goes home safely." His terms are clear, a tempting offer of a return to a semblance of safety, but at the cost of sacrificing justice and empowering a monstrous criminal. But Chioma, a lawyer by training, a strategist by nature, notices something that sparks a flicker of hope. While Adabeo has been focused on displaying his power through the video feed, several of the older children have been quietly moving closer together. One teenage boy is making subtle hand signals, a silent language, that looks like he is organizing something. The African marriage drama, and her years of navigating Emma's deceit, has taught her to watch for signs, to notice the unspoken cues, the hidden intentions when people are planning something. These children, despite their captivity, are not as helpless as they appear. They possess an inherent resilience, a will to survive that transcends their immediate circumstances, mirroring Kioma's own hidden strength. "And if I refuse?" she asks, buying crucial seconds, trying to gauge their determination, to give Agent Musa whatever time he needs. "Then tonight becomes very tragic for many families," Adabeo responds, his calm demeanor making the threat all the more chilling. Through her nearly invisible earpiece, she hears Agent Musa's voice, a lifeline in the chaos. "Kioma, if you can hear me, we've got backup units coming. Keep him talking." The clock is ticking, the tension unbearable. But Adabeo is getting impatient. He nods to one of his men, who grabs Tammy and pulls her to her feet, a cruel display of power designed to break Kioma's resolve. "No!" Kioma starts forward, a primal scream caught in her throat, but another gunman blocks her path. That's when the teenage boy she'd been watching makes his move. With surprising coordination and a surge of desperate courage, he and 3 other older children create a distraction by knocking over a stack of metal containers. The crash echoes through the warehouse, a deafening clamor that momentarily shatters the tense silence. In the chaos that follows, Kemi and Tammy, emboldened by the distraction, break free from their captives and run toward their mother, their small bodies propelled by instinct. But Adabeo's men are already raising their weapons, preparing to open fire on the fleeing children. "Everyone down!" A shout reverberates from outside as the warehouse doors explode inward, not in one blast, but simultaneously across multiple entrances. Federal agents pour through, a coordinated flood of tactical gear and automatic weapons, creating an overwhelming show of force. The infidelity in marriage that had started this nightmare is forgotten as gunfire erupts around them, a terrifying symphony of destruction and desperation. Chioma, with a mother's fierce protectiveness, throws herself over her daughters, shielding them with her body as bullets fly overhead. A raw act of love in the midst of a war zone. Federal agents, drop your weapons! But Adabeo isn't giving up easily. He grabs a young girl no older than Tammy, using her as a human shield, and begins backing toward a rear exit that Chioma hadn't noticed before. "Let them go, or she dies!" he screams, his calm facade finally cracking under pressure. The emotional manipulation that had defined Chioma's marriage is nothing compared to watching a criminal hold a child at gunpoint, a stark reminder of the pure evil she is fighting. But the teenage boy who had started the distraction isn't finished fighting. His name is Ibrahim Suleiman. He shouts to the agents, his voice cutting through the pandemonium. He's been missing from Abuja for 8 months. His father is Senator Suleiman. This revelation is explosive. The public disgrace that Chioma had originally planned for Emma now exposes something that reaches the highest levels of Nigerian society. Missing children of prominent families, their disappearances covered up to avoid scandal, implicating a deeper, more pervasive corruption. Agent Moose's voice cuts through the chaos, calm and authoritative. "Ralph Adabeo, you're surrounded. Release the child and surrender." But as the standoff continues, Chioma realizes something that makes her blood run cold. In all the confusion and gunfire, she has lost sight of one crucial person. Where was Emma? The cheating spouse who had put their family in this situation is nowhere to be seen. Had he been captured by Adebayo's men outside? Or worse, was he still working with them? Her question is answered when she hears a familiar voice from the warehouse's upper level. "Chioma! Up here!" She looks up to see Emma on a metal catwalk above them, but he isn't alone. Beside him stands Funmi, the woman he'd been having an affair with, the spy who had been feeding information to the trafficking network. "It's over, Ralph," Emma calls down. "The accounts are frozen, the contracts are exposed, and the police have everything." But Funmi, her face contorted with rage and desperation, points a gun at Emma's head. "He's lying," she screams. "He's been working with the police this whole time." The co-parenting conflict that had torn their family apart is about to end in the most unexpected way. The husband who had betrayed his wife is now risking his life to save their children, revealing a hidden layer of sacrifice and redemption. The revenge story Chioma had started is becoming something else entirely, a chance for redemption, a desperate fight for survival if any of them survive the night. "Mommy, I'm scared," Tammy whispers in her arms. "I know, baby," Chioma whispers back, her voice thick with emotion, "but Daddy's trying to make things right." The question now is, would his attempt at redemption cost him his life? The events of that night will forever alter the course of their lives, transforming individual narratives of betrayal into a collective saga of courage and a relentless pursuit of justice. 3 weeks after the warehouse raid that exposed the Adabeo trafficking network, Chioma clung to the hope that the nightmare was finally over. She was wrong. Dead wrong. The morning started like any other Tuesday in their temporary safe house in Ikeja. A government-provided accommodation while the EFCC continued its investigation. Kemi and Tammy were getting ready for school, their innocent chatter about upcoming exams filling the apartment with a normalcy that Chioma desperately craved. The domestic betrayal that had started everything now felt like a distant, almost trivial memory compared to the profound trauma of the warehouse rescue. It was a stark reminder of how quickly priorities can shift when confronted with truly existential threats. "Mommy, can Daddy pick us up today?" Tammy asked, brushing her hair in the mirror, her voice a sweet echo of childhood hope. The co-parenting conflict that had once dominated their lives had evolved into a careful dance of supervised visits and family therapy sessions, a delicate rebuilding of trust in a landscape scarred by deceit. "We'll see, baby," Keoma replied, checking her phone for messages from Emma. He'd been staying in a small flat in Surulere, working tirelessly with federal prosecutors to build cases against the remaining members of the criminal network. The cheating spouse who had once destroyed their marriage was now genuinely trying to rebuild trust, one honest conversation at a time, one small act of atonement after another. This arduous journey of redemption, even under extraordinary circumstances, highlights the profound human capacity for change and the complex nature of forgiveness. But her phone wasn't showing messages from Emma. Instead, there were 17 missed calls from Agent Musa, all within the last 30 minutes. Her blood went cold. The sudden barrage of calls, the sheer urgency they implied, was a stark alarm bell. "Girls, go brush your teeth again," she said, trying to keep her voice steady, forcing a calm she didn't feel. The emotional manipulation she'd endured in her marriage had taught her to hide fear, to project an image of control even when her world was crumbling. But this was different. This was the kind of fear that made your hands shake, your vision blur, a primal dread that signaled immediate, unseen danger. She called Agent Musa back immediately. "Mrs. Okachukwu, where are you right now?" His voice was tense, professional, urgent, cutting through the morning's fragile peace. "At the safe house with the girls. What's wrong?" "We need you to pack immediately and move to a secondary location. There's been a development." The African marriage drama that had consumed her life was about to take another devastating turn, pulling her family deeper into a labyrinth of danger. Through the window, she could see their government-assigned security detail talking rapidly into their radios, their body language suggesting imminent, overwhelming threat. What kind of development, she pressed. But deep down, she already knew. Criminals like Adabeo didn't work alone, and arresting one leader rarely meant the end of the organization. It was a hydra, and cutting off one head often meant others would rise, more vicious than before. Ralph Adabeo was found dead in his holding cell this morning, Agent Musa revealed, his voice grim. Apparent suicide, but we suspect it was murder to prevent him from testifying. More importantly, we intercepted communications suggesting there's a contract out on your family. The infidelity in marriage that had started her quest for justice now seemed insignificant compared to the terrifying price her family was paying for doing the right thing, for shining a light into the darkness. She watched Kemi and Tammy through the bathroom doorway, their innocence a stark, heartbreaking contrast to the violence that was hunting them. "How much time do we have?" she asked, already mentally cataloging what they would need to pack, prioritizing essentials for survival over sentimental belongings. The transport vehicle is already downstairs, 5 minutes maximum. But as Koyoma moved toward the girls' room, she heard something that made her freeze. The apartment's front door was opening, and it wasn't the sound of a key in the lock. Someone was picking the lock with professional precision. The public disgrace she'd planned for Emma had morphed into something that threatened their very existence, a relentless, pervasive evil that refused to be contained. She grabbed the girls from the bathroom, pressing her finger to her lips to signal absolute silence. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Kemi whispered, sensing the profound tension, the shift from routine to mortal peril. Before Keoma could answer, she heard footsteps in the living room, multiple sets of footsteps, moving with military precision through their temporary home. The phone was still connected to Agent Musa. "They're here," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Inside the apartment. Get to the panic room now. Don't hang up." Every government safe house had a reinforced room, designed for exactly this scenario, a final bastion against intrusion. But the panic room was on the other side of the apartment, past the living room where armed intruders were now searching methodically, systematically clearing each space. The revenge story she'd started by exposing Emma's crimes had created enemies she never imagined, enemies with far-reaching influence and deadly intent. As she heard the intruders getting closer to the bedrooms, Kioma realized they weren't just dealing with remnants of Adabeo's organization. One of the voices spoke in crisp, educated English, with an unmistakable, refined accent. Not the street patois of Lagos criminals, but the cultured pronunciation of someone with international training, someone from a different, far more dangerous world. Check every room. The woman and children must not leave this building alive. This wasn't just about silencing witnesses to Adabeo's crimes. This was something bigger, more organized, more dangerous, a targeted assassination designed to eradicate any trace of their defiance. The domestic betrayal that had started her journey had uncovered a network that reached far beyond Nigeria's borders, an international syndicate of power and death. Chioma looked around the bedroom desperately. The window led to a fire escape, but they were on the 7th floor, a suicidal leap. The closet was too obvious, an amateur's hiding spot. Under the bed would trap them, making them easy targets. Then she remembered something Agent Musa had mentioned during their security briefing. Every room had emergency communication devices hidden in unexpected places, a last-ditch effort for aid. She felt along the baseboards until her fingers found a small, concealed button. Pressing it would send an immediate distress signal to multiple law enforcement agencies, but it would also reveal their exact location to whoever was hunting them, a calculated risk that might buy them seconds or condemn them. "Mommy, I'm scared," Tammy whispered, tears starting to flow, her small hand clutching Kioma's. The emotional manipulation Kioma had survived in her marriage had prepared her for many things, but not for making life-or-death decisions with her children's lives hanging in the balance, not for choosing between two terrifying unknowns. The footsteps were getting closer. She could hear them checking the kitchen, the living room, moving systematically, inexorably toward the bedrooms. "Mrs. Okachukwu," Agent Musa's voice came through the phone, strained and urgent. "What's your status?" "They're almost here," she breathed, the words barely escaping her lips. That's when she heard another sound that changed everything. The distinctive whir of helicopter rotors approaching the building, multiple helicopters coming fast and low. But were they rescue or reinforcements for the attackers? The bedroom door handle started to turn. Chioma pressed the emergency button and pulled her daughters close, preparing for whatever came next, knowing that the infidelity in marriage that had destroyed her trust in love was nothing compared to the test of courage she was about to face. The door opened, and a figure in black tactical gear stepped into the room, weapon raised. But the face behind the mask was the last person she expected to see, a revelation that would shock Kioma to her very core. The mask came off and Kioma's world tilted on its axis, unraveling years of assumed truths. Standing in her bedroom doorway, dressed in full tactical gear and holding an assault rifle, was her own sister, Adana. "Hello, Kioma," Adana said calmly, as if they were meeting for Sunday lunch instead of a life-or-death confrontation. "We need to talk." The domestic betrayal she'd suffered at Emma's hands suddenly seemed insignificant, a mere prelude compared to this moment. Adana, her younger sister, who lived in London, who worked for an international consulting firm, who had always been the successful one, the mysterious one, the one who could afford designer everything but never explained how. The image of the sophisticated, globe-trotting sister shattered, replaced by an armed operative. "Auntie Ada!" Kemi exclaimed, starting to run toward her, a child's innocent recognition contrasting sharply with the terrifying reality. But Kioma grabbed both girls, pulling them behind her. "Don't move," Kioma whispered to her daughters, her eyes never leaving her sister's face. The emotional manipulation she'd endured in her marriage had taught her to read people, to discern hidden agendas, and what she saw in Adana's expression was cold, calculated professionalism, devoid of sisterly warmth. "The girls don't need to be here for this conversation," Adana said, gesturing with the weapon toward the door. "So you can kill me without witnesses?" Kioma's voice was steadier than she felt, a testament to her hardened resolve. Adana laughed, a sound that had once brought comfort during their childhood in Akka, but now sent chills down Kioma's spine. "Sister, if I wanted you dead, you would have been dead weeks ago. The warehouse, the court hearings, the safe house. Did you really think your survival was just luck?" The infidelity in marriage that had started this nightmare was revealing layers of deception that went far beyond her husband's affairs, hinting at a meticulously choreographed dance of protection and manipulation. Through the window, she could see the helicopters landing on the building's roof and adjacent structures. Professional extraction teams were rappelling down with military precision, not attacking, but securing. "You've been protecting us?" Kioma asked, confusion mixing with terror. "Protecting you, monitoring you, managing you," Adana corrected, checking her watch with the casual efficiency of someone who had done this many times before, an unsettling blend of familial connection and professional detachment. "The Adabeo network was small-time compared to the organization I work for," Adana continued, her words painting a terrifying picture of a world far beyond Kioma's comprehension. "When your husband stumbled into our operations through his pathetic money laundering schemes, we had to make decisions." The African marriage drama that had consumed Kioma's life was apparently just a minor subplot in something much larger and more dangerous, a grand chess game played on an international board. Kemi and Tammy clung to their mother, sensing the adult conversation was about things that would change their lives forever, the weight of a hidden world pressing down on their young shoulders. "What organization?" Kioma demanded, though part of her already suspected the answer would be something she didn't want to know, a truth too dark to comprehend. "International Security Consulting," Adana replied with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, a chilling mask of professionalism. "We handle problems for governments, corporations, individuals with enough money to pay for discretion. Human trafficking was never our primary business, but when local operations like Adabeo interfere with our clients' interests," she shrugged, as if discussing the weather, highlighting the cold, transactional nature of her work. The co-parenting conflict Kioma had been having with Emma now seemed laughably simple compared to learning that her own sister was part of an international criminal enterprise, or perhaps something even more ambiguous, straddling the line between covert operation and illicit activity. But there was something in Adana's manner, a subtle urgency, that suggested this conversation had a specific, immediate purpose. "Why are you telling me this?" Kioma asked, her mind racing to discern the hidden agenda. "Because you have a choice to make, and you need to understand the stakes." Adana moved closer, her weapon still raised but not directly threatening, a careful dance of power and persuasion. "Your evidence against Emma accidentally exposed some of our financial networks. The EFCC investigation is getting closer to clients who value their privacy above all else." Through the apartment, Kioma could hear the systematic search continuing. But now she realized it wasn't a search for them. It was a security sweep. Her sister's people were securing the area, establishing a perimeter of control. "What kind of choice?" she asked, dreading the answer. "Join us," Adana said simply. "You're a brilliant lawyer. You've proven you can handle pressure, and you clearly have no problem with moral flexibility when it comes to protecting your family. We could use someone with your skills." The public disgrace she'd planned for her cheating spouse had led to this moment, being recruited by an international criminal organization, or perhaps an intelligence agency operating outside conventional legal frameworks run by her own sister. The revenge story she thought she was writing was actually someone else's script entirely, a carefully crafted narrative designed to bring her into their fold. "And if I refuse," Keoma challenged, knowing the answer would be dire, "then you disappear. The girls disappear. Emma disappears. The EFCC investigation gets redirected away from our interests, and 3 more families in Lagos lose everything they care about as a demonstration of what happens when people dig too deep." The emotional manipulation Keoma had survived in her marriage was child's play compared to what her sister was offering: join a criminal enterprise or watch everyone she loved die. But there was something else. Something in Adana's eyes that suggested this wasn't as simple as it appeared. Her sister had always been the smart one, the planner, the one who thought several moves ahead, a master of complex strategies. "There's a third option, isn't there?" Keoma said carefully, a glimmer of insight cutting through the terror. Adana's smile became genuine for the first time, a flash of her true self. "I always said you were the clever one in the family." She reached into her tactical vest and pulled out a small device, a recording device that had been running throughout their entire conversation, a final piece of the puzzle. "The EFCC has been trying to infiltrate organizations like mine for years," Adana continued, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "But we're too careful, too international, too well protected. Except now, thanks to your investigation into Emma's crimes, they have a way in." The domestic betrayal that had destroyed Keoma's marriage was about to become her path to taking down an international criminal network. But the price would be higher than anything she'd imagined. A life lived in shadows, a constant dance with danger. "You want me to be a double agent?" Keoma realized, the full implications of her sister's plan sinking in. "I want you to help me destroy the people I work for," Adana corrected, her voice filled with a cold, righteous fury. "Because, sister, what I'm about to tell you about why I really took this job will make your husband's infidelity look like a minor disagreement." Outside, the sound of more helicopters approaching filled the air. But these weren't Adana's people. The radio chatter was in languages Keoma recognized as federal security forces, signaling an imminent, overwhelming intervention. "We have about 3 minutes before this building becomes a war zone," Adana said urgently. "So I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you about our parents' death 10 years ago. The cheating spouse who had started this nightmare was nothing compared to learning that her parents' car accident might not have been an accident at all, unraveling a decade-old tragedy and exposing an even deeper, more profound layer of betrayal and injustice. The federal agents secured the room with military precision, a choreographed ballet of professionalism and force. But Keoma's eyes were locked on Emma's face as he removed his tactical helmet, the mask of his undercover identity falling away. The man she'd married 12 years ago, the cheating spouse she'd planned to destroy, was looking at her with an expression she'd never seen before, professional competence mixed with genuine, overwhelming remorse. "How long?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper as Kemi and Tammy clung to her sides, their small hands gripping her clothes. The domestic betrayal she discovered months ago was reshaping itself into something entirely different, infinitely more complex, a narrative of hidden sacrifice and profound deception. 3 years, Emma replied, his voice steady, but his eyes betrayed the immense weight of maintaining such an elaborate deception. "Since the first time they approached me about those construction contracts." Agent Musa stepped forward, his expression grim with the burden of revelations that would change multiple lives forever. "Mrs. Okachukwu, your husband has been working with federal authorities as part of a joint task force investigating international criminal networks operating through Nigerian businesses." The African marriage drama that had consumed her life was actually an elaborate cover story for a federal operation, a meticulously planned deception designed to protect her family while gathering evidence against some of the most dangerous criminals in West Africa. But the emotional manipulation she'd endured was real, and the pain of betrayal cut just as deeply, regardless of the reasons behind it. "The affairs," she said, looking directly at Emma, the raw wound of that personal hurt still fresh. "Were they real?" The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths, as federal agents continued securing the apartment, and Adana watched the family drama unfold with a detached professional interest. Outside, the cacophony of helicopters and tactical vehicles suggested this operation was much larger than just their apartment building, a sprawling network of law enforcement converging on a critical nexus of crime. The relationships were operational necessities, Emma said carefully, his federal training evident in his precise word choice, trying to depersonalize the agonizing truth. But the emotional damage they caused to our marriage was real, and I'm sorry for that. Operational necessities. Kioma's voice rose despite the presence of armed agents, her pain breaking through her composure. You destroyed our family for operational necessities. Kemi and Tammy, innocent bystanders in this maelstrom of adult deception, listened as their parents discussed the dissolution of everything they believed about their family structure. The co-parenting conflict that had seemed so important was nothing compared to learning that their father had been living a double life, enduring unimaginable sacrifices to protect them from international criminals. "Kioma," Adana interjected from her position on the floor, hands still raised but her voice calm and rational. "Your husband's cover story needed to be believable. Men who embezzle money from construction contracts and get involved with dangerous people typically have complicated personal lives. His affairs made him credible to the criminals we were investigating." The infidelity in marriage that had shattered Kioma's trust was starting to reveal itself as part of a larger, terrifying strategy. But that didn't make the pain any less real, or the justification any easier to swallow. "And what was my role in this operation?" she demanded, looking between her husband and her sister, a fierce need for clarity driving her. "Was I just the unsuspecting wife providing domestic credibility?" "Initially, yes," Agent Musa admitted with uncomfortable honesty. "But when you started gathering evidence and building legal cases, you became an unexpected asset. Your legal skills and your genuine emotional reactions provided cover that we couldn't have manufactured." The revenge story she thought she was writing had actually been part of someone else's investigation all along, a fortuitous, if painful, alignment of personal vendetta and federal mission. But there was something else in the way the federal agents were positioning themselves around the room that suggested the revelations weren't over. A subtle tightening of the atmosphere. "There's something else, isn't there?" she said, recognizing the signs of people preparing to deliver devastating news, an intuition honed by years of navigating deceit. "The warehouse raid 3 weeks ago was successful beyond our original scope," Agent Musa continued, his voice heavy, "but it also revealed information that changes everything we thought we knew about the scope of this criminal network." He gestured toward Adana, who remained calm despite being surrounded by federal agents with weapons drawn, a testament to her profound self-control. "Your sister has been providing intelligence to multiple law enforcement agencies for over 8 years, but the organization she's been infiltrating is larger and more dangerous than we initially understood." The emotional manipulation Kioma had survived in her marriage was beginning to pale compared to learning that her entire extended family had been living elaborate deceptions, not to betray each other, but to protect each other and gather evidence against international criminals. "How dangerous?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "They have connections to government officials in at least 12 African countries, financial networks that span 3 continents, and the resources to eliminate entire families without leaving evidence," Agent Musa replied grimly. The public disgrace she'd planned for her cheating spouse was starting to look like a minor inconvenience compared to the forces they were actually fighting. "Which is why," Adana said from the floor, her voice regaining its strength, "my earlier offer still stands. The three of you disappear completely. New identities, international protection, federal witness protection on a scale that most people never see. But you can never return to your old lives, and anyone who tries to contact you from your past dies." The domestic betrayal that had started this nightmare was revealing itself as the least of their concerns. But Emma was shaking his head with the determined expression she remembered from their early marriage, a fierce conviction that had once drawn her to him. "There's another option," he said, looking directly at Agent Musa, "the one we discussed if things reach this point." "Mr. Okechukwu, that option carries significant risks for your family," Agent Musa warned, highlighting the immense stakes involved. "More risks than running for the rest of our lives?" Emma challenged, his eyes burning with a newfound purpose. Kioma looked between her husband and Agent Musa, recognizing the signs of a conversation that had been planned long before this moment, a contingency for the direst of circumstances. "What option?" she demanded, a chilling premonition settling in. "We end this," Emma said simply, his gaze unwavering. "All of us together. We use everything we've learned, everything Adana has discovered, everything you've documented, and we take down the entire network in coordinated strikes across multiple countries." The co-parenting conflict they'd been having seemed insignificant compared to the breathtaking scope of what he was proposing. It was an all-in gamble, a desperate, audacious plan that could either bring down an empire of crime or cost them everything. "And if it doesn't work?" she asked, the fear a cold knot in her stomach. "Then we die as a family, instead of living separately in fear," he replied with a conviction that reminded her why she'd fallen in love with him years ago, before everything became complicated by deception and operational necessities. This was the man she had loved, stripped bare of his flaws and revealed as a protector, a warrior. Agent Musa's radio crackled with urgent communications in multiple languages, and his expression grew increasingly grim as he listened to reports from other units. "Mrs. Okechukwu, we need a decision now," he said urgently. "We're receiving reports of coordinated attacks on safe houses across Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. Other families involved in this investigation are under immediate threat." The infidelity in marriage that had destroyed her trust was about to become irrelevant compared to the choice between running forever or fighting back against forces that had been manipulating their lives for years. But as Kioma prepared to make the most important decision of her life, alarms began sounding throughout the building, and Agent Musa's radio exploded with panicked communications from teams under fire across the city. The revenge story was about to become a war, a full-scale battle for justice and survival. "Mommy," Tammy said quietly, her small voice cutting through the rising chaos. "Are we going to be okay?" Kioma looked at her daughters, at her husband who had been protecting them through deception, at her sister who had been fighting for justice through infiltration, and at the federal agents who were offering them choices between different kinds of danger. She saw not just her family, but the countless other families whose lives were at stake, the innocent victims of a global web of crime. "Yes, baby," she said with more conviction than she felt, a fierce promise born of desperate hope. "We're going to be okay." But first, they had to survive what was about to become the most dangerous night in Nigerian law enforcement history. It was a decision rooted in love, courage, and an unwavering commitment to a better future, a testament to the fact that true justice often demands the greatest sacrifices. The coordinated attacks across Lagos began at exactly 11:47 p.m., transforming the city's glittering skyline into a battlefield as criminal networks launched simultaneous strikes against federal safe houses, EFCC offices, and key witnesses scattered across the metropolitan area. From their seventh-floor window, Kioma could see explosions lighting up the night sky in at least 4 different directions, a horrifying panorama of urban warfare. This wasn't merely a retaliatory strike, it was a desperate, coordinated assault, demonstrating the sheer power and reach of the criminal organization they were up against. This is what happens when you corner desperate people with unlimited resources, Adana observed grimly, still on the floor, but now being helped to her feet by Agent Musa as the tactical situation shifted from arrest to evacuation, highlighting the fluidity and immediate danger of their predicament. The domestic betrayal that had started Kioma's journey seemed insignificant compared to watching Lagos burn, as international criminals tried to eliminate everyone who threatened their operations, a stark illustration of how personal struggles can quickly intertwine with large-scale societal conflicts. The emotional manipulation she'd endured in her marriage was nothing compared to the systematic violence now being unleashed on anyone connected to their investigation, a chilling demonstration of the depths of criminal ruthlessness. "Status report from all units," Agent Musa spoke into his radio, his professional calm barely concealing the gravity of what they were facing. The responses painted a picture of coordinated chaos that would have been impossible for any local criminal organization to execute. Unit 7 is under heavy fire at the Ikoyi Safe House. Unit 12 reports explosions at the EFCC headquarters in Wus. Unit 15 has lost contact. The infidelity in marriage that had consumed Kioma's thoughts for months was becoming irrelevant as she realized they were facing an enemy with military-level coordination and resources, an enemy that operated with precision and a terrifying scope. Through the window, she could see news helicopters circling areas of the city where gunfire was erupting, their searchlights cutting through the smoky night. Social media on her phone was already filling with confused reports from citizens who had no idea they were witnessing the culmination of a multi-year international investigation, a hidden war erupting into the open. "How many people are they trying to kill tonight?" she asked Agent Musa, pulling Kemi and Tammy closer as the sound of automatic weapons fire echoed from somewhere in their own building, a visceral reminder of their immediate danger. "Anyone who knows enough to damage their operations," he replied grimly. "Witnesses, investigators, family members, federal agents, journalists who've been following the story. Everyone becomes a target when they're this desperate." Tiwa, the African marriage drama that had dominated her life, was revealing itself as part of something that threatened the safety of hundreds of people across multiple cities, a terrifying testament to the far-reaching consequences of fighting organized crime. But Emma, ever the strategist, was studying the tactical displays that Agent Musa's team had set up in their living room, his expression focused in a way she hadn't seen since their early marriage, a sharp intellect re-emerging under pressure. "There's a pattern to the attacks," he said, pointing to locations marked on a digital map of Lagos. "They're not random. They're creating evacuation routes." "Evacuation routes for what?" Kioma asked, though she suspected the answer would be worse than she imagined. "For the leadership," Adana said quietly, her voice cold with a hard-won understanding. "The people I've been gathering evidence against for 8 years. They're eliminating witnesses and evidence while their key figures escape the country." The co-parenting conflict that had seemed so important was nothing compared to watching international criminals execute a plan that had probably been years in the making, a meticulously coordinated exit strategy designed to ensure their continued reign of terror. But there was something in Emma's expression that suggested he was seeing possibilities that others were missing, a spark of audacious hope in the face of overwhelming despair. "Unless we don't let them," he said, looking directly at Agent Musa, a bold challenge. "You said coordinated strikes across multiple countries. How quickly could that happen?" "The International Task Force has been preparing for this possibility for 18 months, Agent Musa replied, his voice tinged with regret for missed opportunities. "But we needed more evidence, more coordination, more—" "You needed someone inside their evacuation plan," Adana interrupted, her eyes meeting Emma's, a silent understanding passing between the undercover siblings. And suddenly, everyone in the room understood what she was proposing. The revenge story Kioma had started by exposing her husband's crimes was about to become something much more significant, a chance to prevent some of the most dangerous criminals in Africa from escaping justice entirely, a turning point in a global war against evil. "You want to go with them," Kioma said, looking at her sister with new understanding, the pieces of Adana's complex loyalty finally falling into place. "I want to lead them directly into international custody," Adana corrected, her voice filled with unwavering resolve. "But only if you're willing to trust me with a plan that puts all of us at risk." The cheating spouse who had destroyed their marriage was nodding with the kind of fierce determination that had once made her fall in love with him, before everything became complicated by operational necessities and elaborate deceptions. "What's the plan?" Emma asked, ready to commit to the ultimate gamble. "Simple," Adana replied, checking the weapons and equipment that the federal agents had confiscated from her, preparing for her return to the belly of the beast. "They expect me to help eliminate the witnesses and then evacuate with the leadership to safe houses in Dubai, London, and Geneva. Instead, I lead them directly to coordinated international arrests that happen simultaneously across 3 continents. The public disgrace that Kioma had planned for her unfaithful husband was about to become secondary to participating in the largest international criminal takedown in West African history, an operation of unprecedented scale and risk. But the sound of explosions was getting closer to their building, and Agent Musa's radio communications were becoming increasingly urgent, a terrifying countdown to a final confrontation. "Mrs. Okachukwu, we need to move now," he said, his voice clipped with urgency. "But you need to decide. Evacuation to permanent witness protection or operational support for what your sister is proposing." The domestic betrayal that had shattered her world was forcing her to make a profound choice between safety and justice, between protecting her daughters and ensuring that other families wouldn't face the same dangers in the future. "If we help you," she asked Adana, her voice trembling but firm, "what are the chances that Kemi and Tammy survive this?" Adana's response was brutally honest, devoid of comforting platitudes. "If we succeed, they grow up in a world where these criminals can't threaten other families. If we fail, they don't grow up at all." The emotional manipulation she'd endured from Emma seemed insignificant compared to making a decision that would determine whether her daughters lived in freedom or spent their lives running from international criminals, a choice between a life of constant fear and a definitive, albeit dangerous, fight for liberation. Outside, the Lagos night sky was lit by fires from across the city as one of Nigeria's largest criminal investigations became a full-blown war zone. But inside their safe house apartment, a family was making decisions that would affect not just their own survival, but the safety of families across West Africa, a testament to the ripple effect of individual courage. "Mommy," Kemi said quietly, her 12-year-old eyes wide, old enough to understand that their decision would change everything, young enough to still believe that adults could fix any problem if they were brave enough to try. Kioma looked at her daughters, at Emma, her husband, who had been protecting them through deception, at Adana, her sister, who had been fighting for justice through infiltration, and at the federal agents who were offering them choices between different kinds of danger. She saw not just her family, but a reflection of humanity's enduring struggle against tyranny and corruption. We do what's right, she said, her voice ringing with the kind of determination that had carried her through years of marriage difficulties and months of legal battles. We finish what we started. The infidelity in marriage that had begun this journey was about to end with international justice, but only if they could survive the next 24 hours, a harrowing period of intense danger and strategic maneuvering. Agent Musa, she said formally, her decision resolute, were ready to proceed with operational support. But as federal agents began coordinating with international task forces and Adana prepared to return to her cover identity, the building's power went out, plunging them into darkness just as armed figures began moving through the corridors below. The revenge story was about to become a fight for survival, a desperate battle in the dark that would determine the fate of criminal networks across 3 continents. This story ultimately is a testament to the profound strength that lies within us when our deepest values are threatened. Kioma's journey from a victim of domestic betrayal to a leader in an international fight for justice illuminates the extraordinary power of resilience, strategic thinking, and the unwavering love of a mother. It reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, that betrayal can hide deeper, more sinister truths, and that the fight for justice often requires courage beyond imagination. The lesson here is clear. Evil, no matter how powerful or pervasive, thrives in silence and secrecy. When individuals, even those deeply wronged, choose to speak out, to expose, and to fight, they can ignite a movement that shatters the darkness and brings hope to countless others. It teaches us that family, in its truest sense, is not just about blood, but about loyalty, sacrifice, and the shared commitment to protect what is right, even when the cost is everything.